Just when you thought she disappeared, she returns. Yay! Hey, hi, how are you guys doing? Kia here, and welcome to another Boys Planet video. So it may feel like I dropped off the face of the earth for a little bit, because I did. I got really busy. But today we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about episodes 3 and 4, and boy oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. So I am going to skip over episode 2 just because I did release a video that ranked all of the demo stage performances. So other than that, there wasn't really any other thoughts that I had on episode 2. I mean, yeah, we had the Signal song performances and the reevaluations, but honestly, I never really put too much into the reevaluations, seeing as rank kind of becomes irrelevant after the first mission. So that's my 2 cents on that. So with all that said, grab a chair. Grab a snack, grab something to drink, preferably water, because hydration is important, you guys. And let's just dive right into this video because boy, oh boy, is there a lot to be said. So starting us off, we're going to talk about the Aju Nice groups, and we are going to begin with the G group. So starting with the whole behind the scenes prepping for the performances, I just want to say this group, I had to admire. Yeah, I felt frustrated for them. I just felt so bad because you can tell that each of the trainees had different training styles because of the way they were recommending how leadership of the group should run. And on the bright side, I was happy that they were able to communicate so well. But on the opposite side, I just felt so frustrated for them because you can see that they were just having such different opinions and some people were just unwilling to back down. But overall, I felt like the communication amongst this group was pretty good. But in terms of performance, this group was definitely weak. Kong's vocals were definitely the standout in this performance, and I feel with some more training, Kong's going to be a really great vocalist in the future because he already has the foundations now. Aju was one that I was really hoping would push through in this performance because sadly his demo stage performance was also pretty weak. And as you guys know, he was in my top 20, but sadly after this performance, he kind of got pushed down. His vocals weren't the stable, and honestly, he didn't really stand out to me too much in the performance. Jingxing, I hope I said that right. Jingxing? Jingxing. Okay. Jingxing, we're going to go with that. You can happily correct me in the comments. I felt like he fit this performance so well. Yes, he is a visual, so he probably can fit many concepts, but he really stood out in this just because he looked so stinking adorable. He has such a great tone of voice for rapping, so it just hurt my feelings when he was so offbeat. And honestly, he is now in my top 30. I can't really say top 20, but he's definitely somewhere in my top 30. But just because I really want to see him try another song and stay on beat because he just has such a great rapping voice. I feel like if you just give him a chance and maybe a little bit more training, he will be a good rapper in the future. And the last trainee in this group that stood out to me was Hiroto, but it's more because he was good while everyone else just hopping over to the K group. And nice, I have to say this one, the behind the scenes kind of wasn't anything to really harp on. I do have to say I felt so bad for Junghyun. He did sound really good during practice, but when it got time for like the actual performance but when it got time for the actual stage practice and performance itself, sadly his vocals just fell through and I felt so bad, but he had such a positive mindset for it and I really do love that for him. I love that he didn't take it to heart and that he wasn't so down on himself for it. He really did try his best and sadly he just wasn't in his best condition. And now he is on my list to look out for in the future because now that I know he has the vocals, I really can't wait to see what he does next. Hopefully he survives and he can do another vocal performance and we can see him when he's in better condition. But sadly, this performance just was not it for him. Sewon and Wongi were just the cutest little buttons. And they fit this concept so well. And I wish that they could literally debut together and just stay best friends forever. Because together, they are a force to be reckoned with. They're just so adorable. Sadly, Woongi's voice was a little shaky. And it's really disappointing. Because I know Woongi can do more than this. But sadly, it just hasn't been shown in Boys Planet. And I really want him to do well in the show. So I really just wish that we could see more from him. Because right now, it's just been a little lacking. Sewon did pretty good. I enjoyed his vocals. Mingyu once again, someone I would not vote for, but seeing the fact that he was able to carry himself on stage and not stick out like a sore thumb, like he actually learned the choreo. He did pretty good and he delivered his lines in a very stable fashion. And after watching him, I just felt like such a proud mom, even though I did absolutely nothing for the kid. I just felt like such a proud mom watching him get on stage and deliver a good performance. But of course, the standout of this performance was Sungwon. That kid has a set of vocals on him, and if he does not rise in ranks with this upcoming elimination, I'm going to be upset. Like, this is the talent that we need, and although he may not necessarily debut in the final 9, he is someone we need to push as far as we can, for as long as we can, because this kid has the talent and it needs to be recognized. In the end, between the K and the G group, I would also give it to K group because they sounded a little more stable and I felt like they just did better with the song as a whole. Hopping over to Kill This Love, oh my gosh, you guys, G group killed the stage, murdered the stage, dropped the mic, whatever you want to say. G group did it. This was just a group after watching the performance, I really felt like they should all just go ahead and debut. You know, if Wake1 doesn't want them, we'll find another company that will just take them all as they are. But sadly, we know that's not going to happen. So instead, I took like half of this group and they are now in my top 9. So Keita, props to him. He knew what he wanted in his team. He picked the perfect team members to deliver on that. And he gave us this amazing performance. He was such a great center, and I love that Keita is such an all-rounder. Great dancer, great singer, great rapper. Love him. Jang Hao, what did I expect? Great vocals. Also, the stage performance, the attitude, you guys. Ugh, loved it. Zihao was someone that stood out to me from the demo stage. If you watch my ranking, I think he was actually number 10 with his cover of Veil by Lay. And I just love that he got some screen time because this kid is so talented, and he was another one that stood out to me in his performance. His vocals, you guys, I really thought that his main push was going to be that he's a solid dancer, but he is another solid pick. Not only is he a strong dancer, he also has some good vocals, and I'm kind of curious to see if he can actually rap. Matthew looked amazing, and I love that we got to see him in this concept because for the most part, Matthew is portrayed as this cute, kind of puppy-like kitty punch, as Mnet puts it, personality. But seeing him in this performance, you can see that Matthew has some versatility to him, and he can definitely suit multiple concepts. And he really embodied the song with this performance. And I loved his little duo dance that he did with See How. They both complemented each other quite well. And once again, support Sok Matthew. Chin Kwanjui. I don't know if it's actually Kwanjui or Kwanji. I've definitely seen it pronounced both ways. So since the majority pronounce it Kwanji, we're just going to pronounce it Kwanji. But Chin Kwanji really surprised me during the practices. Like, honestly, I haven't paid much attention to him because he didn't really keep my attention after the demo stage performances. But seeing him here and seeing how talented of a dancer he is and how much energy he brought into the performance, I felt like the other contestants stood out just a bit more. So Kwanji and Min kind of just felt faded to the background. They had their moments where they stood out, but for the most part, I had my eyes on the other contestants instead of Kwanji and Min. Which, speaking of Min, I felt really bad that he didn't get more lines, and I felt like the line distribution that Mnet provided was very interesting, where a contestant literally gets that little bit of lines. But when he stood out, and I'm honestly excited to see him grow as a performer. On to the K group. K group. So, Gunwook. Gunwook. So, this has been a mixed bag for me when it comes to Mnet and Gunwook. Do they want him or do they not? I swear Mnet gives Gunwook the strangest edits. On one hand, he's getting a lot of screen time. He seems like he's getting favorable edits. But on the flip side, his edits aren't as favorable as most people think they are. And the edits that he does get, they create a certain image about his personality that I don't necessarily think is accurate, but since that seems to be the frequent portrayal, I feel like people are definitely starting to buy into it a lot more. So Gunwook is being portrayed as being a very talented contestant. He's a solid dancer, he has decent vocals, and honestly I'm not too sure about the rap, but he's a very solid choice. Mnet keeps showing these edits where you can see that Gunwook is confident, but sometimes it comes across as being a little cocky or arrogant. Personally, I love when someone knows their talent and worth and they know their skills. Gunwook is just like that, and I personally love that for him. But it feels like when I go on social media or when I'm just reading comments about the show and him in particular, I feel like people are having mixed reactions because they just feel like he's a little too arrogant and not necessarily confident, but just cocky. And after this whole edit with basically it seeming like that Gunwook had a heavy hand in the formation of the group, selection of the members and song, some people just felt like he was manipulating Hwanhee, and I don't agree with that, but I can see why people kind of think like that. I mean, again, it just came to the way Mnet edited. Like when Hwanhee said, like, I'm just a puppet for Gunwook, some people just took it in a different direction. All I'm pointing out is just that Mnet just gives Gunwook some contradicting edits. So on one hand, it's seeming like these edits are positive, but on the other hand, it's like they're not as positive as we're thinking they are. But overall, Gunwook was definitely the standout of this performance because he's such a strong dancer and performer. And he hurt my heart when he was crying at the end. Because yes, while Gunwook seemed like this muscular bear, he is still just a kid inside. And it was so sad to watch him crying. Ugh, Gunwook. But other than that, Hwanhee is another person I felt really bad for in this performance. I know Hwanhee has the vocals. We've seen it in Up Tension. But sadly, his voice also wasn't in good condition. Also, really sadly, his notes were really straining. The only other person that stood out for positive reasons was Kunhee, and that was because I thought he delivered a pretty good rap. Overall, I agree with the audience choice. I would also pick G Group, but not for lack of trying. K Group had a solid lineup, but I think G Group just performed them better. And since the main vocalist in K Group was not in the best condition, G Group obviously wins. Hopping over to Love Me Right, which I have to say, Love Me Right had a great team, and I loved the team dynamics. When they were assigning roles and when Muti got the main vocalist position, I love how he took the group into consideration instead of just focusing on himself. Because personally, I would have loved to see Wheein keep the main vocalist position, but he had the right mindset. He was focusing on the group, not just promoting himself, which I do think was better for the long run. I felt bad that he got slightly intimidated by Hui because I know Muti is a great vocalist, but it's also just about knowing your skills and knowing what you have to offer. And I don't blame him for feeling that Jay would have been better for the role because let's be real, Jay killed that role. And I'm happy that Jay was so willing to give up his killing part and swap for the main vocalist just because he knew it would benefit the team. So if the vocals and the fact that they are such wholesome people didn't make you fall in love with Muti and Jay, I don't know what will. So going to the actual performance, Muti was a little bit weak as a center, I'm not gonna lie. He didn't always stand out, but his vocals were so good. And I just wish he would have had more chances to stand out as a vocalist. Jay, Jalaiah Carey. Jesus, you guys. His vocals are so powerful and they really suited this song so well. Not gonna lie though, at times his vocals were a little overpowering, so it felt like it was kind of drowning out some of the other members, but I did love him in this performance, and he has so much charisma, and I loved him on stage. He just looked like he was having so much fun, and he was so playful with the performance. Haruto was another one who was so adorable and fun to watch just because he just looked like he was having the time of his life on stage. Great rap, great stage presence. Donghae and Anthony. So Donghae especially, if you guys watched any of my previous videos, you know I refer to Donghae as my little ball of sunshine because the blonde hair and because he always has a smile and he just seems like he has such a bright personality. He has good vocals, but sadly in this performance, I don't think I heard much of him and he didn't really stand out too much. Anthony's another strange one because I have seen him on Produce Japan, so I know he has a lot more to offer, but sadly I'm just not seeing it right now with Boyz Planet. And when watching this performance, Anthony's vocals were pretty unstable. You could definitely hear the shakiness in his voice. And I mean, during practice, he delivered solid vocals. So I don't know if it was just more due to nerves. Maybe his throat wasn't in good condition. Maybe he was getting sick. But during the actual performance, Anthony didn't sound that well. And then we have our invisible men, Haru and Winnie, who looked like they were doing great, but they just never got any focus. Like even when even when Donghai was selecting members, I swear Haru and Winnie just appeared. They were just in the group and we didn't even see when Donghai called them. But they both did good. Winnie's rap wasn't necessarily my favorite, but I think he did a good delivery. Hopping over to the K group. K group. Okay, honestly, after watching the Love Me Right performance in episode 3, I swore up and down that there was no way K group could top this because G group just had it all. Like I said, vocals were a little lacking in a certain area, but for the most part, it was a solid performance. But then K group managed to come and blow my mind. So, Huijin, y'all. Huijin knew he was going to deliver, but seeing all of that confidence radiating on stage, and I don't know why I doubted that for even a second. So yes, Hui was the standout. Loved his vocals as usual, and I loved the stage presence. At first, I was kind of nervous for him because he seemed nervous about going on stage in episode 3, but Hui is a professional. He knows how to get out there and kill and burn the stage. Hanbin was a great dancer. I loved how he was able to interact with the audience while doing the performance. Hanbin, that is a true idol right there, you guys. Love it. Gyubin, honestly, he's still not my favorite contestant just because I want to see more from him in the vocal or rap department. It's already obvious he's a good dancer, but I just want to see what else he has to offer. Overall, when it comes to who I would have voted for, I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I would also choose K group. But hear me out. I love Jelaya Carey. I do. Jelaya Carey's vocals definitely suited this song better. And I'm finding that it's definitely which one did you prefer better? Because both Huijin and Jelaya Carey did great. No doubt. It's just honestly a preference on whose voice you preferred in this song. And my personal preference is that I prefer Jelaya Carey. The reason I would give K the vote is just because when it comes to G group, their performance was really cute and lighthearted, and I love the energy. But personally, it felt like there were members that stood out individually, but as a group, I just didn't necessarily feel the cohesion like I did with K group. I felt like K group just felt more like that. Like they felt like a group. So both groups did great. Both groups I've watched multiple times. And while I would give the vote to K group because you have to vote for the groups that perform better, I would give the vote to K group. I did enjoy G group's performance better. So feels like I'm contradicting myself, but I promise I'm not. In terms of skill and talent, I would vote for K. But if you ask me in terms of enjoyability, I would vote G. G definitely is one of those stages I would watch over and over. Yeah, like I said, it has its weak points, but the way that they came on stage and performed it was just so enjoyable and fun to watch. Burn it up. Love the fact that the problem the trainees were having was the abs, because that is the most realistic problem I have ever heard. Starting with the G group. G group. I don't have much to say about the G group, honestly, just because it wasn't the best performance. Let's just say that. A few standouts for me was, which I'm hoping I'm saying this right, Won Hao, the center. He did pretty good. He definitely stood out because he did do a little better, but he still had many weak points. Chen Ren-yo was okay dancer, but he actually stood out for me because of his vocals. I was actually surprised by how decent his vocals were. A little shaky at times, but overall, I feel like if he gives some more training, he might actually be a pretty decent vocalist. And then K stood out to me because he was a good rapper. If he survives, he needs to be doing rap next mission because I need to hear more. Moving over to K group. K group. So the behind the scenes of K group, I have to say I had mixed opinions about it. I felt bad for Park Min-suk, who was the leader for the K group, because this was a difficult situation to handle, and I give him props for handling it as well as he did. So two of the members, Seyun and Sunghoon, they're two of the younger contestants on the show, and you can tell that the show and just kind of being in the survival show environment was taking its toll on them. So they were starting to lose confidence, they were starting to doubt themselves, and it became very obvious and apparent that they were having these problems. And it just made things a little more difficult for the other members who were trying their best to give a good performance. This group was the leftover group, so it's not like any of these members chose to be with each other. So it already produced an obstacle because these boys don't really know each other, and it's not like they chose each other. It's kind of like these boys were just pushed into a group, given a song they also had no choice in. So some of the boys were trying to make the best of the situation and do the best that they could. But then you have Saeon and Sunghoon, who were just kind of already withdrawn at that point, kind of accepting their fate. And when they kept crying after getting feedback, just crying because they're frustrated with the situation they're in, just kind of reminded me why I don't really like seeing such young contestants on these shows, because it's just very stressful. It's hard. And personally, when I think back to when I was 15 and 16, I don't really know if I personally could have handled being under so much stress. But Saeon and Sunghoon just reaffirmed my belief that contestants really shouldn't be on the show this young, because this is a very hard and stressful environment. I am happy, though, that they were able to kind of push past and give a performance. It was hard just to see them being so down and them seeming so unconfident in themselves. So it was really hard to watch, but thankfully K Group did pull through. And although again this was not a strong performance, Huijin was a very good center. And the reason I really enjoyed this performance was because of Gwonyoung. And I am so mad at Mnet for hiding this gem, because Gwonyoung has some good vocals. Which, another funny thing, I didn't realize Gwonyoung was in the Lullaby demo stage, which I also have pointed out has some really good vocalists in there. So now I'm mad at myself for not noticing the fact that this kid is talented. But anyways, Gwonyoung was my favorite part of the performance. Literally, I have rewatched it a few times already just because I enjoy hearing Gwonyoung's voice. His tone suited this song perfectly. And personally, if I had to vote between K and G, once again, I would vote for K, but primarily just because I would vote for Gwonyoung. Over to Danger. Starting with the G group. Behind the scenes, I felt bad that team definitely had the struggle, and I'm happy they were able to resolve their differences and kind of come to terms, because the team definitely had it rough. Huijin, especially for being leader, I felt like he didn't necessarily start with the best mindset as a leader, but after talking to his members, I felt like he changed his mindset, and we definitely saw that the team got a lot closer. So Huijin was the standout to me in this performance, and that's all I really have to say. The rest of the members also stood out to me, but let's just say they did not stand out for any good reasons. So sad to say this was not a good performance, but moving over to K Group. K Group. So K Group gave us an interesting situation that was happening behind the scenes. And, as someone who takes Mnet, any Mnet edit with a grain of salt, I have to say, Dal definitely got tore up anew by Mnet, which is interesting. Not unexpected, but interesting. Which, when I say it's not unexpected, I feel like it's just because Dal was ranking a little too high, and Mnet was not here for it. I feel Mnet was okay with Dal being more of a comedic contestant, but they didn't want him to be a serious contender for top 9. And a few people that I chatted with also were expecting this to happen to Dal. Honestly, I didn't think he would get evil edited. I just thought they would just probably give him a poor portrayal of his skill, just showing that he lacks more. But the fact that they went and evil edited him like this, oh god. Because, yeah, he said this all, but I do feel like there was some context missing. So I don't think Dal's a villain, so I wish people would stop villainizing the poor kid. Yeah, I don't necessarily like what he said, but once again, we don't know the context to when it's said, because I really don't think you would just tell people that, if I don't get this role, there was no point in me picking you guys. I just don't think I don't actually think there's really many situations anybody should be saying that, but it was said, and it's out there. When it comes to Dal, I feel like the problem I had with that whole situation wasn't what he said, wasn't how he was acting. I felt his acting was actually kind of reasonable. He wanted the role, and as a slow learner, instead of having to change roles and learn a whole new one, it's just better to try and perfect the role that you have. My problem was his mindset. He was focused more on his growth rather than doing what's better for the group. But to be fair, when he selected the members, he already kind of shot himself in the foot because he selected members who had helped him in the past. And it seems like the reason he chose them because he wants them to help him in the future. But whereas the Signal song was more of an individual activity, this is a group activity. So while in the Signal song, you can focus on yourself and your growth, in the group activity, you got to kind of put yourself second and think about what's better for the group, because at the end of the day, the group is what's going to help you win, not just what you can do. So I feel like that was the problem I had with the situation, was just because he was more focused on his growth rather than thinking about what he could do for the team. And I felt bad since the team members definitely seemed like they were working with him, because they were willing to change their roles and switch around the parts to kind of help accommodate Dell. But he was very adamant on staying in his position, which again, I don't fault. I do understand where he's coming from. So the person I felt had the hardest job was Seunghwan, because that really was a difficult position to be in. You know, Dal was the one that picked the team. He is in a higher rank than you. And it's kind of hard to really say too much in that position. So I was kind of happy with the way Seunghwan handled it. He just kind of told Dal he's going to have to own up to that position. And even after, I loved him to see that Seunghwan was still comforting him, still encouraging him, and that he did, and that what Dal said and didn't necessarily leave a bad taste in his mouth. And also just kind of seeing the way the members interacted afterward. I really don't think the way that Mnet portrayed that scene really occurred like that, because I mean, trust me, or at least I know my personality. If someone has said that to me, it would be on like Donkey Kong. But seeing as everybody has some pretty mellow reactions, I don't really think it was as bad as Mnet made it. But moving on to the actual performance, Dal, actually, I feel like he did okay. I'm not going to say he did good, but he didn't do as bad as I was expecting. Poor Ichan. Let's just say that. Like, Ichan was someone else I was really looking forward to in this performance, because he stood out in the demo stages. And I mean, if you go back to his Island days, you know that he has talent. So I was really hoping he was going to pull through this performance and just showcase his vocals. And, you know, afterwards we would be like, yep, top 9 material right there. But sadly, I feel like the common trend was a lot of people's throats were just not in good condition. And seeing as we knew from the demo stages, COVID was going around, it was just sad to see that so many people were getting sick. And I just felt so bad for Ichan. You could just see him losing confidence in himself. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. But the two that really stood out to me were Minhyuk and Seunghwan. Seunghwan, especially. Seunghwan carried this performance. And I'm not trying to be funny or rude. I just literally mean his votes literally saved the group. So he literally carried the performance. If Seunghwan hadn't been there, this group would have lost. And I'm not saying the contestants are bad. Like I said, Minhyuk was another standout to me. But Seunghwan just had such strong stage presence, and he did good with his rap. What I did get from this is that Seunghwan is an all-rounder who can rap, sing, and dance, and he is now solidified in my top 9. If you did not know, I have been voting for this kid, but he's been rotational. Now, he's solid. He needs to debut here, you guys. One pick here. So, if it came to voting for G and K, I would do the same thing as the audience. I would honestly vote for K, but only because Seunghwan was in the group. But if Seunghwan had not been in that group, I don't know who I would have voted for. I'm not even gonna lie. I probably wouldn't have voted for either, because hot sauce. Hot sauce, hot sauce, hot sauce, hot sauce. Okay, first of all, let's just preface this by saying I really hate this song selection. I think I voiced this. Actually, did I voice this? No, I didn't, because I didn't film that, you guys. But let me just say, the song selection altogether was very interesting. And out of all the NCT Dream songs, because if you have to have an NCT Dream song, why hot sauce? I'm sorry, I just don't understand what those Mnet directors, producers were thinking. Literally, out of all the NCT Dream songs, you could have done Wheein, Boom, Hello Future, but you do hot sauce? Why? It's just such an unconventional song. And unless you're at NCT level, then this is not it, you guys. This is not it. And even the NCT members, you see how long they've trained, and they're under a big company. But whatever, let me not rant. Point is, I just don't feel like this song was it. That's my preface. So, hopping over to the G group. They tried. They really did put up a good fight. And I will not even knock this performance because, again, of how difficult this song is. in just how you have to be able to carry this song out in a certain way. Osuke was adorable, and I will forever say he was a good leader for putting up the best fight of his life. Ollie was the only one that stood out to me in a positive way. The rest of the members really just fell short, and this performance sadly was not it. K group, honestly, I can't even say it was much better. Park Hanbin was the only reason I would vote for K group instead of G group. Park Hanbin was fantastic, terrific. If NCT was looking for more members, I would recommend Park Hanbin, and I would stand by my choice. He is such a great performer. Park Ji-hoo was another person in this group that stood out to me for being a good performer, but obviously Park Hanbin, hands down, was the standout between both these groups. So, I don't feel this performance was as weak as G group, but definitely was not a strong performance by any means. So, if you had to ask me who I vote for, it would be K. But once again, it would be K because Park Hanbin and Park Ji-hoo were really the standouts from both groups. Ollie, he tried. He really tried. And I feel like it's just honestly a matter of preference for Ollie and Hanbin. But in terms of this song and this style of performance, I just personally preferred Hanbin's performance. Hopping over to Backdoor, which, Backdoor. If I thought Dal got a bad edit, well, Christian was just getting tore anew, and I don't know what he did to Mnet. Don't know if he just walked into the interviews and just like looked at the director of Mnet funny or what, but Mnet is out for blood when it comes to Christian. And sadly, I think Christian did give him material because they took the material they had and ran with it. So, let me just start by saying I do not hate Christian. I still love this kid because I know what he is before this, and I doubt that being in the show changed that. But I do have to accept that when it does come to the behind the scenes for like the Backdoor, like when watching their practices, Camden and Christian didn't mesh very well. And I'm not saying that either person was wrong because neither person was wrong. You know, there's not always a black and white to every situation. And I feel that the problem we had here was just, one, we just had a clash of personalities, and two, just miscommunication. It's just like a group project. I don't know why people think that every group is automatically going to get together and be friends and share the same ideals and there'll be no clash. I mean, we've all done group projects before. We know that is so far from the truth, it's not even funny. So I don't know why people would think that in situations like this, when you're in such a stressful environment, that it would be any different. And with the Camden and Christian situation, I feel that we saw exactly what would be expected in a situation like this. So I don't want to harp too much on it because, I mean, you can definitely go online and see the comments and breakdowns of how Mnet exactly edited the clips and pieced together different scenes in order to dramatize the whole situation. But in order to not invalidate anybody's feelings, it is fair that we agree that, yeah, all this did happen. But it did not happen to the extent that Mnet showed. We had miscommunications at the beginning that seemed to get a little bit resolved. Now, in episode 4, when it comes to the positions, that brought up another that brought up another problem that is not necessarily all Christian, but rather a bit of what the dance teacher said. Now, I do understand what the dance teacher meant, but I do agree that he probably just didn't phrase it in the best way. So, when it comes to Christian and the center role, the way it all happened, I don't necessarily think was right, but I don't necessarily think was wrong. I think there was better ways that could have gone about it, but I honestly would have still came to the same conclusion. Now, I adore Christian. Christian is a great dancer. And I'm sure if the dance instructor had just told Christian, hey, you're not dancing powerful enough, you need to put more intensity into your movements, and gave him corrections and ways to fix that, I feel like Christian probably could have adapted a little better. But it's also fair to mention that Camden and Ricky naturally had that intensity, and they were able to portray it a little more easier and naturally without having to put all the extra effort into it. So I do agree that Christian should give up the role. When Christian argued to keep the position, I do not think he was wrong. If you have no screen time, would you want to give up your one chance of the spotlight? And for anybody that says yes, well, I pray you're never in these shows, because let me tell you guys, I will be greedy AF. It's not wrong for him to want to try to keep his position. That's the only part where I didn't necessarily agree with Camden, was Camden agreed with the dance instructor, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I felt like maybe they should just try to work with Christian a little bit more and see if they could get Christian to that point. Now, again, stressful situation. They are time limited. I don't know how much time they actually had to correct this. So I do agree with that. I do agree with the way it did happen, where Camden and Ricky did audition fairly, and they were able to show Christian what exactly they were looking for him to do. And so I don't disagree with Ricky getting the position. Like I said, I do think the way things happened wasn't necessarily the smoothest, but it did come to a more favorable result. So I wish people would stop bashing Christian and Camden. Like, they are not villains, you guys. It was just bad situations. That's all. So for the actual performance, Ricky is the charismatic boss baby. I do love his charisma on stage, and he is charming. But in terms of his actual performance, overall, it was a solid performance. He did good. Chin, which I'm going to say his name wrong, Chin Janyu? I actually quite liked his rap. You know, honestly, I have never really paid attention to this guy, but his rap was pretty good. Camden and Christian, they were good dancers, and watching their fam cams, you can tell that they were solid performers. But when you watch the whole performance, they kind of got lost in the mix too. But I just feel like it was more because Camden and Christian did not have many lines. The line distribution for a lot of these songs was really strange, and I don't know who decided these lines, but I don't understand why Camden and Christian had such few lines. But whatever. Hopping over to Backdoor K. Another one, I don't have much to say, but this is because this performance was really good and really solid, and this group was ready to debut from the minute they formed. So, Jiwoong's leadership was definitely a highlight to me, and during the performance, I have to give it to him. Jiwoong is a standout because of his strong performance, but I just wish we could have seen more. You know, yeah, he still gets, again, he gets those points for those abs, but in terms of actual performance, I just wish that we could have heard something more. Huijin, we know he's talented. The kid is a great dancer. Really stood out in this kind of performance, but I'm still a little reserved on him just because in terms of vocals and rap, I just need to see more from him. We have a lot of great dancers on this show, but the problem that I'm seeing is just that we're not seeing enough vocals or rap. Like, got a lot of great dancers, but dance isn't going to be heard on the debut song. So definitely just want to see more from all of these dancers. Today, he is ready to debut. This is a kid who is ready to stand on the stage and just amaze us. I love that during the demo stage, he performed an intense song with The Real by ATEEZ, and then even here with Backdoor by Stray Kids. Somehow this kid can do such intense choreo and deliver such stable, great vocals. Also, can we give some extra appreciation? To that kid's eyebrows? His eyebrows were slaying. I love them. I need to figure out who did them because I want my eyebrows done just like that. He looked amazing. Jungwoo was an amazing center, and I hope he gets some more attention going forward because he was great with that performance. And of course, Minsung and Junhyun were amazing. Wouldn't expect anything less of them. Overall, once again, I would agree with the audience. I would give it to K Group. K Group had a solid performance, and they were one of the stages I also thoroughly enjoyed watching, and my mouth was left hanging by the end of it. So, after covering all of those performances, you may be wondering, well, what are my top 5? And if you didn't ask, don't worry, I'm going to tell you anyways. So personally, if I had to rank the stages, my number 5 would be Burn It Up K Group. Because, once again, Kwon Young's vocals. You guys just don't understand how moved I was. Those vocals suited the song so well, and they just elevated that song to a whole new level. Number 4 would be Love Me Right K Group. Kind of already talked about it, but K Group did good. Hui's vocals were great. Beyonce went off in that concert hall. But number 3 is going to be Love Me Right G Group, because once again, while K Group technically did better, G Group was more enjoyable, and it's just so cute to watch. And literally, they just look like they're having so much fun performing it, and since they're having so much fun, I'm having a lot of fun. So, love that performance. Number 2 would be Backdoor K Group. Loved the intensity, loved all the members, loved the vocals. It was just a great performance overall. And number 1 would be Kill This Love G Group, and I thoroughly enjoyed the performance. What can I say? Some other moments that I would like to talk about is the prank elimination. You know what, you guys? It would have been funny if I wasn't on Eastern time. Literally, for this elimination, I had to wake up at 1 a.m. You guys, 1 a.m. 0100, okay? Knowing I have to go to work at 0500. So, yes, you guys, I ran off 2 hours of sleep that day, and I didn't even have anything to show for it. All I had was that doll was number 13, and all the cute intros that we were given. And yes, while those cute intros were worth it a little bit, the fact that all we got was the 13th rank announcement was very upsetting. I wasn't mad like half the people on social media are, but I was just very upset. So hopefully we don't get any more crap like that. And then it was just funny how all the like social media postings advertising for the elimination ranking literally said first survival elimination, but then 2 hours after the actual elimination was aired, they managed to somehow change all of it to first survivor elimination. Like, Mnet thought they was being slick and trying to backtrack and cover their heinies because people were like, you lied. No, Mnet. Like, people screenshotted the previous flyers. We know what you done did, okay? So while it was cute this time, let's not make this a habit, Mnet, because if I have to give up my sleep and go to work running on 2 hours, there's gonna be problems, okay? And yeah, it was my fault for making poor decisions, but you know what? I make poor decisions daily, and I refuse to be judged for that. So, last but not least, let's talk about the standout trainees and then move into my top 9. So, standout trainees in this episode were Jingxing, which, again, please don't come for me, you guys. I promise it's not just because of his visuals. I promise. Yeah, it's like, okay, actually, I kind of lied. So, yeah, it's like maybe 10% his visuals, just because his visuals really fit that concept so well, and he just visually stood out. But, again, his rapping, his tone, I promise you guys, he is going to make a good rapper if we just give him a chance. Like, literally, whenever I see him, he reminds me of Guanlin. I think it's how you pronounce it, Guanlin from 101, because Guanlin was kind of similar, that he wasn't the best trainee during Produce Season 2, but that kid had a voice on him. And when he debuted, we saw just how good a rapper he could be. And I feel like Jingxing is going to be the same if we just give the kid a chance. Next is my new true love, and that is Zihao. I was already voting for him after watching the demo stages, but solidified. I need this kid to debut. So while he may not be one pick, he is definitely my 2 pick. Next, Keita stood out. Keita's been standing out since episode 2, but episode 3 was the episode that finally made me think I should vote for this kid. Jalaya Carey. I think that's reasonable enough. Another person that stood out was K because of his rap. Guanyoung because of his vocals. Minhyuk because of his stage presence and his dance. Seunghwan because he's Seunghwan and he stands out no matter what he does. Jongwoo because he did really good. Like I said, he surprised me, guys. That rap surprised me. Jungwoo because he deserves all the attention for being such a great singer. And Taylor for his vocals. How you can dance intensely and sing stably like that, the world will never know. So if I had to talk about my current top 9, which honestly is in no particular order, because right now I swear my top 9 is really a top 20, and I just pick from that top 20 and my top 9. As of right now, my top 9 would be Jiwoong, Jay, Wang Zihao, Matthew, Christian, Zonghao, Seunghwan, Taedae, and Wamooty/Keita. Like I said, you guys, I can't. We need 11 members. Like, I'm still pushing for this plan. So, just like Mnet was trying to be funny and slick with the whole first survival/first survivor elimination, Mnet said they won't do a planet pass. But what about a star pass? Can you see it, you guys? A star pass. So, we think we're going to get 9 members because of the top 9. And then they throw out the star pass at the end where we get 3 members who can get star passed into the final group. And we get a group of 11. That is the image I'm working for. The image that will never happen, but I'm still thinking towards. So finally, we're done. I think that ended up being a lot longer than I planned on it. And I do think I ranted quite a bit, but but that's what my videos are. They're part personal rant, part educational rant, but 100% rant. So let me know what your thoughts are on these last few episodes and who is in your top 9? I'm honestly generally curious to see how people's top 9s have changed. Because looking at my top 9, which changed every 5 minutes, I can't admit that my top 20 has changed drastically. I know I had posted a video of my top pre-debut 20, and I will tell you guys that maybe half are still in my top 20 to this day. And I am going to post another video within another day or two where I am going to give some predictions and kind of talk about the eliminations and who I think is going to survive. So look forward to that. But with all that said and done, if you enjoyed today's video and you would like to see more videos like this, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you guys next time. Ta-tas for now.